For 3 years in a row, I quit gluten and dairy for the month of January. And I also quit them in May and October too. And that's not all I quit. I also quit soy, caffeine, alcohol, and sugar. And a lot of joy. In this video, I'm sharing what happened after 30 days. This is the dark side of healthy eating challenges when healthy eating is taken a little bit too far. I'm Lara, the food freedom psychologist, and I can help you create a healthy and happy relationship with food without guilt or stress eating. If you're getting lots of value from these videos, which I really hope you are, then hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and click that bell notification so that you know every time I post a new video. Side note here, if you are feeling overwhelmed and out of control around food, then you can sign up to my free Food Freedom Masterclass. It's in the links below and looks like this. In my signature program, I've worked with so many women who have done these kinds of 30-day challenges, and actually it's ended up damaging their relationship with food. In my program, we work through how to live a healthy life, but without imposing really extreme restrictions. We've seen so many incredible transformations with people completely changing their relationship with food and their body image. Before we dive in, I have a question for you. Have you ever done any of these kinds of 30-day challenges? If you have, let me know in the comments below. So here's my story then. I first did one of these 30-day challenges in January 2017. The challenge was to quit gluten, dairy, soy, caffeine, sugar, and alcohol for 30 days. And the idea is that it was a Kickstarter to getting healthy. You were meant to have a protein smoothie in the morning, and then you would eat a light lunch and dinner. Challenge also came with a recipe plan, and you could mix and match these, so I really liked that flexibility. There were shopping lists, there was the protein powder for that breakfast smoothie I mentioned, and also additional supplements that you could take. In preparation for this 30-day plan, I chucked out all the not allowed foods from my cupboards, my fridge, and my freezer, and I stocked it with ingredients that I would need for all the cooking from scratch meals that I was going to make. Now, if you had asked me at the time, at the end of that 30 days, I would have said that it was incredible. I would have waxed lyrical about how I felt so much better, how I felt less bloated, that I was sleeping better, and also possibly had boasted about losing a bit of weight. Although I would always caveat and say that I wasn't doing it for the reasons of weight loss, I was doing it for my health. In fact, I was so into these cleanses that I was doing them 3 times a year. So in total, I did 10 of these because the last one was in January 2020. As the years went by, however, I started to wonder whether doing these kinds of challenges were a good idea given my eating disorder history. And you can check out this video here if you want to find out a bit about my story of recovery from bulimia. I also started to wonder whether the fact that I was feeling constantly tired was maybe because I wasn't eating enough. So I want to tell you what happened as a result of doing these 10 challenges. And I think this is probably the dark side of these challenges that not many people are talking about. The number one is the Last Supper effect. Now, just thinking about going on a cleanse or a diet or a detox can trigger what's called Last Supper effect. I obviously didn't know it at the time, but what was happening to me, every time I knew that one of these cleanses was coming up, I would load up on all the quote unquote naughty food in the week beforehand. I would really gorge on these foods knowing that they were going to be off limit for at least a month. And actually, this is something that got worse over time. So it didn't necessarily happen at the beginning, but as we were coming towards maybe my 8th, 9th, and 10th, I would really gorge, especially on chocolate. So it definitely got worse over time. Second thing is the cravings and binging. And again, this is something that definitely got worse over time. With each subsequent cleanse, I would experience really extreme cravings for certain foods, but I would often binge on the so-called healthy versions of these foods. For example, on the 30-day challenge, there was these sweet potato brownies that you could make, and they were okay, but they were definitely sweet potato brownies. They weren't like the real chocolatey gooey brownies that you might want to eat. And when I baked them, I would get so full on them. And I think now looking back, I know that I was trying to satisfy that craving that I was having, probably for chocolate, and I was trying to satisfy it by binging on these sweet potato brownies. But I never felt satisfied, so I just kept on eating. Number 3 is that following these rigid rules was actually quite stressful. And yes, I totally get that for some people, for medical reasons, you must give up certain foods. Like if you have a nut allergy, you want to avoid nuts at all costs, or if you've got celiac disease, you want to avoid gluten at all costs. I get that. But I had no medical or scientific reason to be giving up these foods. There was a lot of stress surrounding it. I was having to constantly read food labels. I am also a busy working mum, so having to cook from scratch every single day was really quite stressful, even if I was cooking in bulk. Sometimes I was so exhausted after a day's work, but I would continue regardless because I was so wedded to these rules. It also meant that I often ate differently to the family. For example, on the weekends, we normally have like waffles or French toast or pancakes, but I couldn't join in with the family. I think certainly my kids thought it was very strange that I would cook these healthified protein pancakes, and again, they were okay, but they certainly weren't as nice as waffles. Number 4 is that I had digestive issues. Now, I've actually had digestive issues for quite a long time, and if I look back on my journey with disordered eating, those digestive issues have definitely got worse in periods where my disordered eating is worse. And in fact, in my 20s, that was when I had bulimia. I was diagnosed with IBS, but the doctor didn't ever put 2 and 2 together. So my tummy wasn't happy when I was doing these 30-day plans. And again, that's something that got progressively worse over time. And obviously now in hindsight, I can definitely see that it's probably linked to that disordered eating and the stress. Number 5 is that it totally took the joy out of eating. Now, in my opinion, I feel that eating is about more than just putting nutrients into your body. There's a certain joy in sharing a meal around the table, chatting to friends and family, hanging out with your best mate, going out for meals or cooking for others. There's a joy in eating a real brownie and savouring every bite. There's a joy in sharing waffles with your kids. There's a joy in being able to say yes when your daughter says, "Do you want my last sweet, mummy?" There's joy in sharing a meal out with your partner and having a cocktail together. There's joy in saying yes to a dinner invite without having to send a list of not allowed foods ahead. And there's joy in deciding what you want to eat based on your internal cues rather than having to refer to your meal plan. Number 6, these 10 challenges made me unnecessarily scared of certain foods, and actually it's taken me so long to be able to comfortably eat a sandwich or enjoy a bowl of cereal or having normal pancakes. In my opinion, these kinds of challenges can create far too much fear-mongering around food. And number 7, it created a very disordered relationship with food for me. 100% these 10 challenges fueled my experience with orthorexia. For me, that was healthy eating taken too far, the dark side of it. And if you want to know more about my story and recovery from orthorexia, you can watch this video here. So having done 10 of these challenges, I can tell you now that I will never go back to such a rigid way of eating, and always ensure that there's flexibility around my food choices. So let me know in the comments below, does any of this resonate? Have you ever been on one of these challenges? So I've shared with you all the bad stuff. What about any of the good stuff? Is there anything that, having done those challenges, that I have kept or retained in the way that I eat now? Well, I definitely won't ever do one of these challenges again. But there are some things that I've kept. I explored new recipes, I explored different vegan recipes. So I've definitely kept some of those recipes. I also discovered that I love vegan cheese. Really like it. So I'm going to stick to my vegan cheese. I also really enjoyed starting my days with a protein smoothie that has loads of fruit and veg. And that's something that I've continued, except only on weekdays and definitely not on weekends. I also discovered that I love coconut and oat milk. I definitely stick to those rather than cow's milk. That's just a personal preference for me. But I also realised that life is just way too short to spend it obsessed reading labels or worrying about whether there's dairy when I don't have any allergy to dairy, for cooking joyless brownies, and for getting the other reasons why we eat, taking the joy out of eating. So that's it. That is my experience of quitting gluten and dairy for a month 10 times. As always, I have added some resources and some links below for you to explore. There's 2 books that I really recommend on this topic. So one is called The Gluten Lie, and it's an absolutely brilliant book that gives you just tons and tons of research around some of the messages and the lies that we have heard around different foods that we eat. The second book is a fabulous book called Food Isn't Medicine, and this will just blow you away. Check out these videos next for more health, food freedom, and mindset tips. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and if you have any friends that you think might benefit from hearing this, then please do share it with your friends. Bye for now.